The following video is a nonprofit essay for entertainment and educational purposes. Video Games and the World is not associated nor affiliated with Netflix, nor the cast and crew, or Stranger Things and its creators, the Duffer Brothers. All art is owned by its respective companies. Warning: this essay contains major Season 4 spoilers. Stranger Things, a Netflix TV series that premiered in 2016. Since its premiere, it has become a worldwide cult phenomenon, winning multiple awards and launched a new generation of child stars. It is very popular for its story, acting, nostalgic vibes of the 1980s, and so on. Not to forget, it makes references and pays tribute to famous 1980s films like Ghostbusters, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, The Thing, and so on. Stranger Things also spawned tons of merchandise such as clothes, costumes, comic books, and even video games for smartphones, PC, and consoles. The story of the show takes place in the fictional town of Hawkins, Indiana in the 1980s. A group of young friends witness a series of supernatural forces and government secrets occurring in their hometown. As they search for answers, the children unravel a series of unbelievable mysteries and meet a mysterious little girl with telekinetic powers. With each new season, new heroes, new antagonists, and even more powerful creatures arrive. These creatures are named after the monsters from the tabletop RPG game Dungeons & Dragons. Dungeons & Dragons made its first publication in 1974, and since then, it's become extremely popular in all of geek and nerd culture. The TV show had various themes and lessons to learn. There are themes in the show that focus on motherhood, pain, shared trauma, resistance, frailty of innocence, and going deeper into darkness. The first season was about fighting an unseen evil force that they never encountered, nor believed that it existed. The second season shows that they must overcome their traumas after this encounter, and they must learn to live with the danger and darkness if they are to survive. The show also focuses on resilience in many ways. Each of the characters have their own personal demons to battle as a group or on their own. For example, Will continues to struggle with visions and the Mind Flayer's hold on him. Hopper has to protect Eleven since he doesn't want her suffering the same fate as his daughter. And Joyce evolves from a mother who is worried sick to a fighter. Stranger Things is known to have romantic themes such as Mike and Eleven, Lucas and Max, Nancy and Jonathan, Dustin and Susie, Joyce and Hopper, etc. In Season 4, regarding romance, it is known that Steven has some feelings for Nancy after Robin rejected him because she is a lesbian, and it is known that Will is gay and has feelings for Mike. Now, the show has dealt with various topics such as battling monstrous aspects of the coming age, such as rejection, lust, social hierarchy, and so on. The show also teaches a lesson of the value of using your own imagination. And what is imagination? It is a faculty or action of forming new ideas or images or concepts of external objects that are not present to the senses. It is also the ability of the mind to be creative or resourceful. And finally, a part of the mind that imagines things coming from the subconscious. Imagination is everything, because it helps you to become creative and come up with many new ideas that can be resourceful for something. Creative imagination can be accessed in moments of slow or idle time and help us look at problems from different perspectives. Imagination pervades our entire existence, influences everything we do, and allows us to create. And now, Stranger Things Season 4 is considered by so many fans to be the best season of the entire series. But this season tackled on something that went on in the 1980s, and what we should dive on right now: the Satanic Panic. The Satanic Panic is a moral panic that consisted of over 12,000 cases of satanic ritual abuse, which started in the United States during the 1980s, later spreading throughout different parts of the world in the 1990s, and it still persists to this day. This panic originated in 1980 with the publication of the book Michelle Remembers, co-written by Canadian psychiatrist Lawrence Pastor and his patient Michelle Smith, which used the discredited practice of recovered memory therapy to make sweeping, lurid claims about satanic ritual abuse involving Smith. The allegations which afterwards arose throughout much of the United States involved reports of physical and sexual abuse of people in the context of occult or satanic rituals. In its most extreme form, allegations involve a conspiracy of a global satanic cult that includes the wealthy and powerful world elite, in which children are abducted or bred for human sacrifices, pornography, and prostitution, an allegation that returned to prominence in the form of QAnon. The moral panic was compared to blood libel and witch hunts of historical Europe and McCarthyism in the United States during the 1950s. There were various moral panics throughout the decades. In his book, Satanic Panic, the 1994 Mencken Award winner for Best Book presented by the Free Press Association, Jeffrey Victor, writes that in the United States, the groups most likely to believe rumors of SRA are rural, poorly educated, religiously conservative, white, blue-collar families with an unquestioning belief in American values who feel significant anxieties over job loss, economic decline, and family disintegration. Victor considers rumors of SRA a symptom of a moral crisis and a form of scapegoating for economic and social ills. Although the term was first used in 1980, the Satanic Panic was older than that. In the 1970s, these ultra-conservative, suburbanite Christian fundamentalists perpetuating the moral panic were trying to prevent people from going into movie theaters because Hollywood was filled with Satanists and a homosexual agenda. They felt that they wanted to destroy the family structure and turn boys into gays and girls into lesbians. Also, in the 1970s, these fundamentalists were trying to prohibit the rock band Kiss from performing in various parts of the country. Why? Because they felt that the name of the band was an acronym for Knights in Satan's Service. However, the band stated that KISS stands for Keep It Simple, Stupid. In the 1980s, these fundamentalist Christian groups will also start a war on the heavy metal music genre, mainly the band Black Sabbath, because they felt that the heavy metal was satanic and anti-Christian. The Satanic Panic would work its way to the 1990s and would go after various forms of entertainment such as video games and anime. When it came to video games, the fundamentalist Christian groups would accuse the first-person shooter game, Doom, of being connected with the occult and led players astray from God. They would also accuse Marilyn Manson of indoctrinating fans into the occult and blame him for the tragic Columbine High School massacre in April 20th, 1999. Doom would also be blamed for the massacre as well. And one of its most well-known denigrators is Jack Thompson, before he would go after games such as Grand Theft Auto, Manhunt, and Bully. They would also go after Pokemon because they felt that it was satanic due to the following. They felt that their Poke Rap in reverse had a hidden occult message because the Pokemon evolved and that evolving stones were occult talismans. The Satanic Panic will also go after Harry Potter because they felt that Harry Potter would teach children to perform witchcraft and be led astray from God. They felt that the series of books and movies had a gay agenda. This moral panic will also go after the 2009 Disney film The Princess and the Frog because they felt that it promoted voodoo magic and taught kids to perform voodoo and control others. Every time this type of panic went after entertainment, it will often be debunked. Those who debunked it believed that these fundamentalist Christian groups to be nothing more than rural, poorly uneducated, blue-collar white ultra-conservatives who wanted to ban anything that went against God and felt that it glorified the occult, sex, and violence. So many of these fundamentalists were absolutely wrong with what they said. They are nothing more than fanatics trying to impact not only on entertainment but also on education, legislation, and so on. And now, we shall explore on how the series Stranger Things perfectly tackled the satanic panic that occurred in the 1980s. Stranger Things Season 4 is known to be the most beloved season of the series so far. Many people, after watching this, would feel nostalgic, and the current generation will fall in love with songs such as Running Up That Hill, performed by Kate Bush, Pass the Dutchie by Musical Youth, and Master of Puppets, performed by Metallica. Stranger Things 4 had various fun, exciting, dark, gritty, and emotional moments as well. And judging by the way it ended, the next season may be the final battle for the world against the Upside Down. Now, one of the most interesting things that the show has tackled in Season 4 was the satanic panic of the 1980s. In the Season 4 premiere, we are introduced to Eddie Munson, a beloved character and considered the MVP, who runs a school club known as the Hellfire Club. The Hellfire Club is a high school club that is comprised of players and fans of the popular Dungeons & Dragons game. The primary antagonist of Season 4 is Vecna, responsible for a string of grisly murders occurring in Hawkins. The story of Vecna echoes the story of Satan. We are also introduced to a secondary antagonist named Jason Carver, who is captain of the high school's basketball team. He has a girlfriend, Chrissy Cunningham, whose death will affect him negatively, and blamed it on Eddie since she was at his trailer at the time of her death. And certain situations will put him at odds with Lucas. While he seemed as a nice guy at the beginning due to his love for Chrissy and checking on Lucas due to his hangover, Jason will be revealed to be a complete jerk. He thought that those who were unpopular were beneath him and had a dislike for Eddie Munson and those who played D&D, labeling them as freaks. When these murders at the hands of Vecna start to occur, Jason is quickly to blame the death of Chrissy, Fred, and Patrick on Eddie. He believed that D&D was satanic, tabletop RPG game, much like all these ultra-conservative fundamentalist Christian groups, and that Eddie had these satanic powers and used them to kill Chrissy, Fred, and Patrick. Jason would convince the entire town to turn against the Hellfire Club and its members, who are avid D&D players. And so, he weaponized the ignorance of the decade with his speech after the death of his fellow basketball teammate Patrick. The show tackled this ignorant moral panic of the 1980s perfectly. How so? If you look into the history of this moral panic, you'll find it how ridiculous the ignorance was back then. Paranoid suburbanites were terrified of the game D&D because they felt that the game promoted devil worship, witchcraft, suicide, and the presence of naked breasts in drawings of AD&D manuals. Such drawn monsters in those manuals were harpies and succubi. These controversies led TSR to remove many potentially controversial references and artwork when releasing the second edition of AD&D. Many of these references, including the use of names devils and demons, were reintroduced in the third edition. The moral panic over the game led to problems for fans of D&D, who faced social ostracism, unfair treatment, and false association with the occult and Satanism, regardless of an individual fan's actual religious affiliation and beliefs. Various ultra-conservative fundamentalist Christian groups have a reputation for attacking entertainment because they believed they were unholy, evil, and would teach people to hate God, or because they had some type of gay agenda that would turn boys into gays and girls into lesbians, which was nothing more than fallacy at its peak, right there. Dungeons & Dragons has been the subject of rumors regarding players having difficulty separating fantasy from reality, even leading to psychotic episodes. The most notable of these was the saga of James Dallas Egbert III, the facts of which were fictionalized in the novel Mazes and Monsters, and later made into a TV movie in 1982 starring Academy Award winner Tom Hanks. The game was blamed for some of the actions of Chris Pritchard, who was convicted in 1990 of murdering his stepfather. Research by various psychologists, starting with Armando Simon, has concluded that no harmful effects are related to the playing of D&D. As you can see, many of those who will call entertainment diabolical or satanic without doing one bit of research are absolutely ignorant and need to learn to question even their own faith and beliefs. This is not telling people to quit their faith and beliefs, but sometimes such things must be questioned, because when using faith and beliefs the wrong way, as it has been done throughout history, there can be serious consequences that can harm not only those around them, but themselves as well. The desire for revenge in the case of Jason can be very harmful to a point that can be costly, especially when accusing an innocent who has done no wrong and scapegoating on entertainment as well. This season made me think so much about a lot of things when it came to tackling the satanic panic. Like how people use their religious faith to the point of being fanatical that they want to censor what they deemed ungodly. The way that Jason made a speech to convince the entire town to turn against the Hellfire Club using his beliefs was proof of his absolute ignorance of the situation. In the 80s, there were many like Jason Carver that ostracized those who were avid players of D&D, all because of the ignorance and misinformation at the time. There are still other Jason Carvers out there, but in this day and age they are not as much as listened to as they used to be. There are memories I have on how the satanic panic went after entertainment. When I was growing up in the Dominican Republic, the moral panic over Pokemon was that people believed that it was diabolical because of the occult messages. They thought that singing the Poke rap in reverse was loving the devil. They thought evolution stones were talismans of evil. They also called it demonic because they felt that these adorable creatures were demons from hell, and the most ridiculous statement was that Ash and Brock's friendship was part of the gay agenda. The problem with these types of people is that they are so devout to the point of being overzealous and fanatical. They also hated on Pokemon because of how these creatures evolved. As you know, Christians, whether fundamental or not, will often reject the theory of evolution, but its phenomenon is linked to metamorphosis. Even the Vatican itself debunked these fundamentalists, stating that Pokemon is about pursuing your dreams, friendship, and so many positive things as well. Even the satanic panic in the Dominican Republic went after Dragon Ball Z, because some priest, pastor, or minister thought that the iconic anime was diabolical because of the character named Mr. Satan and his daughter named Videl. In America, Mr. Satan was renamed Hercule to avoid outrage from Christian groups. However, Toriyama stated that Mr. Satan is a stage name, much like wrestlers use stage names. Videl, however, was an anagram for devil. These people even threatened to ban the show. The thing is that religion influenced the country so much during those times, but not as much anymore these days. I also remember the satanic panic going after Harry Potter because that Jesus camp preacher was telling kids that the series of books were evil and taught them to perform witchcraft. But of course, so many would say that whatever these preachers said about Harry Potter being associated with the occult was just fallacy. And it was a bunch of fallacy. The moral panic is still alive in some way, but these fundamentalists attack entertainment because of the inclusion of LGBTQ characters, all because to them it's a hidden agenda to turn people gay, lesbian, bi, trans, or queer. And I say to those, there is no agenda. They are included because they existed, do exist, and shall exist for the foreseeable future. All they want is equality. And they are God's kids too, our neighbors. Hence, love thy neighbor as you love yourself. Those who are without sin, let them cast the first stone. We live in a diverse society, and entertainment is a reflection of this. We want characters to be there for everyone. These ultra-conservative fundamentalists will use Bible quotations to justify prejudice, but these people do such hypocritical things, and they still do it to this day. And it pains me to say that it may get worse due to how things are now. Although they are not as much as listened to as they were back then, there are some other moral panics when it comes to entertainment these days. My final question is this: will we ever enjoy something without worrying that someone gets offended because it doesn't conform to their religious or ideological views? As they say, tomorrow never knows. Be sure to subscribe, like, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and support me on Patreon. This is John of Video Games in the World. Have a good one. Later.